Well, hello and welcome to our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. It is episode 31 for the year 2025. It's October 3rd, a Friday, and we're doing our backyard garden. We just finished our front yard garden video, and now time for the backside. So, weather is about officially 57 degrees, although it feels much warmer in the sun. Feels like probably 67. Very, very pleasant right now. So we'll start here on the little hillside next to our garage. This group of irises here, there's not really much to see, although I have cleaned them up. Hopefully they'll kind of perk back up by spring and put out a whole hillside of flowers like they do every year. But here we've got this daisy, and this is about as close to full bloom as we're going to get with this. So we're going to really drink this in right now. Excuse me. Came out of nowhere. This is kind of a strange plant. It's a big plant, and it blooms twice. We have a whole bunch of flowers in the spring, and then it goes kind of dormant in the summer, and then it comes back with its second wind, and all these buds, which are really in full bloom right now. Also, over here are our cleome. These are the only ones left in the garden right now. These long stalks. You can tell it's late in the season. We had a number of others, and they had pretty much finished up. We had some that were growing up out of the concrete earlier, and other places, but I've cut those back because they were done. The only thing I like to do is once they have finished blooming, I like to let their seed pods mature, and there are lots and lots of them, and then they have these little tiny brown seeds that fall into the dirt, and then they come back next year. So we'll look forward to that. Right behind that is our pokeweed. I've been talking about this one a lot just because I find it interesting. It came up on its own back in the midsummer. One of its seeds just fell into the garden, and here we are. It's a big plant. The tallest part is probably a good 7 feet tall, and even though it's a weed, it's a rather attractive one. I've seen these in yards elsewhere in this area, and they are fairly ornamental with these berries that start off green and then turn to purple. But they are poisonous, so in case you're tempted to eat them, please do not, because you will suffer the consequences. But I heard that this is a perennial. I'm not sure. We'll find out next year, but I'm going to leave it alone. I had another one over in this area, but I cut it back. It wasn't doing terribly well. It had been covered by morning glories, and I pulled those out because they had just kind of taken over that entire section of the yard, which really was not necessary. Then we've got, believe it or not, kind of hidden back in here, we have a yellow knockout rose, which really only blooms in the spring. So right now it's just kind of sitting, waiting for next year. And then we have our 4 big hydrangeas with the white flowers. The white is long gone. They've turned to sort of this lime green with the little pink highlights, and then they gradually just turn brown from there, like this one is doing, and then they'll stay on over the winter until they just fall off on their own. What else do we have? Asiatic lilies. We've seen those come and go over the season. We've got a lot of digitalis. They're of course all spring based. Got a couple zinnias back in here, still hanging on. Butterfly bush here that have been kind of crowded out by this gigantic hydrangea. So it didn't do a lot this year. It's now finished. This other butterfly bush is now finished for the year too, but it has done well. It's far enough away from the hydrangea that it has been able to flourish and actually get pretty big. There's a tiny little bit of color left here. That's about the only one on the entire plant. So this will be the last week we see anything there. And we've got another knockout rose back in here with a big clematis on it. This is a big spring bloomer. These will give us basically one big plant that has bright red and bright white on the same plant, which will be really cool to see, even though it's two plants in one. We've got some impatiens here. Impatiens have not done terribly well this year. We've just got a few sporadic plants. Unfortunately, they've just not flourished. Our impatiens have really been hit and miss here, and I don't think I'm going to do those next year. I think they're just too unpredictable, too erratic, so we'll work on other things instead. So right here we have one of our, let's see, this is the second of our 6 azaleas. This one is now in full fall bloom, and it's the only one that is fully in bloom. The others are, I think, just still getting ready to come out. I see some buds here and there on these others, but this one looks not quite as covered as in the spring, but it's certainly giving us a lot of color at a time when we could use it. And then back here, our astilbe are all finished for the year. Lamb's ear, just this little ground cover plant, is doing well, and it'll continue to stay green really throughout the winter. We've got camellia here. These are getting ready to bloom probably January, February, for about a month or so in the late winter. We have 3 of those, and last year they gave us probably our best year ever with bright red. Actually, a variation, bright red flowers on a couple of the plants, and then one that is more kind of looks like peppermint or candy, kind of a candy cane look. A couple more azaleas here, and then our hostas kind of hanging in there, and our one sad little wisteria here. It's just never quite dies off, but never really flourishes either, so not quite sure what is going to come of that long term. We have another wisteria over here, which has done much better. Of course, it gets a lot more sun, and it's grown along the fence, which is exactly what I wanted. So stay tuned for next spring when this gives us a whole batch of big purple flowers, which I think will be really enjoyable and very fragrant as well. And then over here, another a couple of azaleas. I've cut this section back quite a bit. It was really getting kind of out of control. But we have a lot of daylilies back in here, some more of the lamb's ear, and I'm seeing some weeds that are going to need a little bit of work too. So I'm going to need to get out here with my wheelbarrow and my garden gloves after this video is finished. More daisies here. We think they're either Shasta daisies or some variation, but they're doing very well. Kind of peaking again right now. Back in here, mostly irises. Not doing a whole lot, obviously, this time of year, but they're getting ready for next spring. We have big knockout rose, the biggest knockout we have in the back, still giving us some bright red flowers. I think it's probably just about done. I'm not seeing a lot of new buds on it, so this might be its last hurrah for the spring, or I'm sorry, for the fall until spring. Some more zinnias here. These need to be deadheaded a little bit. These all came from seeds that we put in back in the spring. And then our trellis here is covered with primarily jasmine, but a lot of climbing roses as well, and clematis. So in the spring, this is really a sight to behold. You have just a lot of different colors. Now here, just kind of out of nowhere, we have this one gigantic rose, which is really the only one that I see on that entire plant. The climbing rose that's up on, or the main climbing rose, we have several on this trellis, is a, I don't know the name of it, but it has bright pink flowers. I've kind of cut it back a little bit because it was getting out of control. as I have done with the jasmine as well. But over here we have another climbing rose. It's done for the year. It always loses its leaves due to black spot, but then it gives us flowers despite that throughout the year. But I think right now it's done. Got some spiderworts here, not really out right now. I don't think this is done for the year yet. I see some blooms. They just aren't open right now. There's one that's trying to open up. Maybe they'll open up a little bit more as the morning continues. We'll see. Another camellia over here. Another vinca here. Now, I talked about vinca on our front yard garden tour, and we only have one that has come up. We've had a ton of vinca in the entire yard over the last 3 years. For some reason this year, these are the only two that have come up. A tiny one and actually a pretty big one. This is unusually tall. They don't usually get 2 feet tall. They're usually more of a ground plant, but they give these nice white flowers, or pink if you can find them. And there's even a lavender color. We've bought those before. They didn't tend to do as well, unfortunately. And then next to that, this is kind of a ground cover, more of a weed than anything else, but it's a mint plant. It smells very nice, but it has a tendency to take over. So you have to really be on top of it to cut it back. This is a calla lily here. Doesn't look real good right now, but it's a spring flower and just kind of falling dormant for right now. Nice wildflower here. Don't know the name of it. We got this a few years ago, but neither my wife nor I knew what the name was. And then back here, this tea rose continues to put out a few flowers. It's lost in the shuffle through most of the summer, unfortunately, because there's so many other things in here, but most of those are done right now. We also have a lot of veronica and of course these wildflowers. These are the veronica. They're all done right now. The long stalks of purple, tiny little purple flowers. In fact, you can see a couple of them still here, but they're basically done. We have another tea rose here. It's going to give us another flower soon. Maybe we'll see that on next week's video. There's some weeds growing up through the middle of that, so I need to get on top of those. We have another daisy here. Now, for some reason, this daisy is not blooming yet, whereas the other two are, but it's not dead. It's not done yet. It does have some buds on it. It's just behind the times for some reason. And then the backdrop is pretty much all jasmine, although, having said that, we do have a nice clematis flower, and even though these are primarily spring flowers, for some reason you'll get individual flowers at just about any time. They don't like them midsummer, but you'll see some in the fall like this. We had one back here I noticed as I was going by. This is called Nellie Moser, and we'll have lots and lots of these come spring. So a lot of color back here in the spring. It's definitely worth coming back to these videos from about mid-April through the end of May. It's really the peak time for this particular garden. This here is another butterfly bush. It's all finished for the year, but it's a big one. I've cut it back a little bit. It was getting kind of out of control, and still have a few flowers here from the climbing rose that has just sort of weaved its way in amongst all the other plants here. We've got some over there as well, still blooming, and these will continue to put a few flowers out at least until probably the end of October. And then over the side of the fence here, we have canna, which are finished for the year, and you can just barely see over here. I'm gonna zoom in on this. These are all clematis, and they're growing. Actually, their plant has grown up onto the wisteria that's back there. This area has become very, very dense with plants. There's not much else going on here, so we'll go around down onto the terraced area. We got a lot of gladiolus here that are done for the year. But unfortunately, this bed didn't do especially well. We have a couple daylilies that gave us a lot of flowers. We had some zinnias with some balloon flowers. The zinnias got eaten by a deer. The balloon flowers are just done for the year. Hopefully they'll come back next year. They did pretty well overall. And then over on the fence here, we have a mixture of mainly clematis, a few gladiolas, not much else. A few roses that are struggling to survive, but they don't do a whole lot. And this big tree that I just walked past, this is a weeping cherry, so this will give us a lot of color come spring. Now, that wisteria, you can see, I'm gonna zoom in again. That is wisteria growing up onto the tree, and it's not really necessarily the look that I want. It's hard for me to cut the wisteria back because I do like the flowers that it puts out in the spring. But you have to be careful. You don't want it to completely take over your garden, and they have a way of doing that. They're very invasive. In fact, right now, this is just from one plant, and you can see the base of the plant here. It's the size of a tree. It's going all over the place, and so we've got these vines that are headed over to this side of the yard, and I'm not sure where they're going to go. I'm not wild about cutting them back, but we'll see what they do. I'm not going to let them take over, but I want to give them some freedom. And then canna. These are ones I do have to cut back because they've just taken over. I wanted to keep them all sort of contained within these railroad ties here, but these have jumped over, and I don't know where they're going to go. They've really kind of gone crazy this summer, so I'm going to have to really work on getting those under control. The rest of the canna are done. They are very prominent. It's kind of an impact plant. Unfortunately, ours have not done all that well. As I've said before, if I had an actual gardener, I could find out if they're struggling because of whether it's a parasite or a fungus or just a nutritional problem. I don't know, but almost all of these, we have two different types of canna. They're all struggling leaf-wise. Now, the yellow ones, which are a lighter colored leaf, they did pretty well. They gave us a lot of flowers this summer. But the darker ones really gave us just a handful of red flowers, much taller. They really have taken over. It's like a jungle in there. But you really have to stay on top of them. I came out here a couple weeks ago and cut these back. These had also jumped over the railroad tie. And I cut these back, and they're growing back already. So I tried spraying them with Roundup. It did nothing, so I'm just going to physically cut them down. This part of the garden really requires pretty close maintenance because weeds get in here very quickly. I came in here in April and chopped back this bed extensively, and I had to come back again in September and do the same thing. Just about a month ago, that we had just all kinds of weeds and trees growing out of it, and again, canna. I'm gonna have to cut these back, but I'm trying to protect the daylilies, which you see here, and the iris, and even a few black-eyed Susans, which are growing in here as well. So I have to stay on top of these, or they'll get out of control again very quickly. So as we look up at the trellis, this is going to really require some major cutting back next spring. I've always wanted it to cover the trellis like it's doing, but you don't want them to be completely out of control. And even with all that, we've got another one that's come to the party here is Virginia creeper, and I've got to stay on top of those because they'll take over as well. So a lot of invasive plants down in this area because we have such a long growing season. Really viney plants that have a way of taking over. So it's going to take a lot of work in 2026, but hopefully if I can stay on top of it every week or two, they won't become a problem for us. Now, a couple weeks ago, I was coming up the side of the yard, and these tea olives here were in bloom. Now, last week I did not come through here because my neighbor was mowing his yard right as I was doing the video, but we still have a few flowers. It was fully in bloom 2 weeks ago, but it looks like we're still have a few more. It's just giving us its second wind. Primary blooming time is springtime. And even this plant here, if you've been following these videos, we put in 8 of these tea olives when we moved in here about 7 years ago, and they were obviously much smaller. These 7 of the 8 of them have done very well. This one, for some reason, it just struggled and didn't look like it was going to survive. But now we've finally gotten to a point where I think it will survive. It's just a little bit behind the others, but it's doing okay, and so that'll be nice to keep the family going like that. We have this rose, which I had deadheaded about a month ago, and it's put out a bunch of flowers. Now these were blooming, fully in bloom last week, but they're done now. We've got a couple buds left, so we'll still get a few flowers. Hopefully we'll see those next time. Just about everything else up in here is done. I weeded this area extensively, so it's not quite the jungle that it was. Got a lot of marigolds back in here. Those just sort of developed by accident. I think they washed down from the deck where we were putting all our seeds in last spring, and they've done very, very well down here. But everything else is primarily done. Now, one exception here is our tomatoes. These started out as grape tomatoes a few years ago, and they've kind of permutated into these strange things that look almost like peppers instead. And some of them are doing okay, but then you get others like this one, which even though they don't touch the ground, they get I don't know if it's some sort of parasite or fungus or what exactly, but obviously not edible. We've got a few others here that do look okay, and a clematis too, just sort of out of nowhere. Nellie Moser doing very well, but I think yeah, it looks like we've got a couple more tomatoes here. That one's not quite ready. This one is definitely ready. So we got a nice little crop for today, and maybe one more here. And these tomatoes are strange things. They really took over, especially over near closer to the stairs there, about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were just everywhere. And they came up the next year from seeds. We had hundreds of tomatoes every year, and this year very few. Not sure why. We do have another one that's ripe here, a bigger one. That's probably, I think, the biggest one we've ever grown down here. We just planted grape and cherry tomatoes, relatively smaller ones, and I don't know how this one sort of developed like that, because that's much bigger than a cherry tomato. It's not a beefsteak, but it's still kind of neat to see. Another little clematis hiding down in there. And let's see what else we have. We have a bunch of calla lilies. I kind of went past these, and the plants themselves doing very well. They're spring bloomers. So, oh, we have a little friend, and he jumped away. It's a little lizard. We get a lot of those little green lizards living amongst the plants. So usually find them on the leaves. Oh, we have another friend here. A little amphibious friend, our little frog. We have hundreds of these little tiny frogs. You hear them in the spring at night and in the summer. It's like a whole chorus of chirping from sunset till sunrise. And then you get the bass of the bullfrogs that are out there by the water too. Oh, we have a second one. Second one has just made his appearance. There we go. I love these little guys. They keep the insect population down, and it's just a thriving ecosystem back here, which I just love it. Love nature. The last thing here is our other big climbing rose. This is probably the biggest one that we have in the entire yard. We have 4 of these pink ones, and they give us these beautiful flowers and entire branches of them. And when they first come out, I never appreciated this until this year. When they first come out, you have both light and dark pink on the same branch. Usually by the time I get a chance to see them, they've been kind of bleached out by the sun and they're all the light pink, but these are kind of the mix of light and dark, and you can see that elsewhere up higher. But next year it'll be interesting to see how these plants all adjust. We're going to make some changes, I think, and extend our deck a little bit, where it is kind of cuts in there at the top of the stairwell. We're going to extend it all the way across here and put in a hot tub. So some of this is going to be covered over, and we may have to move some of our plants in the process, but it'll just give us more to talk about on our backyard garden, of course. So that is it for today. Hope you enjoyed our little video, and these are some hostas that are just kind of struggling this time of year, but they'll come back with a vengeance next time. Hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, hope it's sunny wherever you are, and happy gardening.